You're listening to the Weekend Sport Podcast with Jason Pine from News Talk ZB.
Scotland have beaten England 4 times in a row in rugby's Six Nations, or its equivalent, for the first time since 1896.
Now Scotland have got room on the outside. Van der Merwe to go on a kick. Oh, it's sublime from Scotland. What on earth is happening at Murrayfield? It's a Van der Merwe hat-trick. They are just waiting to have their moment to celebrate. Finn Russell kicks it into the stands and Scotland have done it.
Yeah, Scotland have retained the Calcutta Cup with a 30 points to 21 win over England at Murrayfield. Let's bring in Scottish rugby writer David Barnes, who was at the game. David, thanks for taking the time. Tell us the story of this match and the keys to Scotland's victory.
It's a very strange experience for us Scottish journalists. It's almost flat. It used to be a win over England was, a reason for national celebration for days on end, whereas it's become a wee bit of a habit. So, and it was quite strange. And the players, they were obviously delighted, but the celebrations weren't muted compared to what we're used to. So the keys to Scotland's win were Duhan van der Merwe. I think we'd have to give him the credit. He scored 3 tries. They didn't start very well, but once they got into their stride, they just got themselves in front and they kept England at arm's length. So it was a really professional job. First
Scotland player to score a Calcutta Cup hat-trick, Duhan van der Merwe. Tell us a bit more about his influence and just how key he is to the Scottish side, on attack in particular.
Yeah, on attack. He's got pace and he's got strength. So if Scotland can get the ball to him in any sort of space, he's just going to do damage. And you know yourself that it sounds dead simple, it sounds dead easy, but having a guy like that is huge. And he's getting better as a player. He's a bit of a superstar, but he's a humble guy, and it's just really any sniff Scotland got today, he finished it off. So he's worth his weight in gold, and he's got some considerable weight there.
Absolutely, and Finn Russell continues to steer the Scottish ship with great skill and also perfect from the kicking tee. How would you describe his influence?
Finn was Finn. He was excellent. He did some really great things. He had a great cross kick to set up Van der Merwe's hat-trick try. He did have 1 or 2 moments, kind of hear him scare moments. He had a kick charge down, which could have gone, could have ended up, costing us, but it didn't. So he's a maverick, and he's a maverick. He's probably, but he's playing great rugby at the moment, and when he's on that sort of form, he's hard to deal with.
Anyone else who deserves special mention after today? We haven't even gone into the forward pack.
Well, yeah, Scott Cummings was an unsung hero in the second row. He just did the basics at the line out, but I think at 15 tackles. England are very physical up front. They always are, and he can stood his ground against Barrow Toji and Ollie Chesham. So a bit of credit, I think, to him and the young guy Ewan Ashman, who came off the bench at hooker, won 2 vital turnovers in the last 20 minutes. I thought that just when it looked like England, it just kept England at bay. So I think a wee bit of credit for Ewan there as well.
4 straight wins, as we've mentioned a couple of times, and as you say, David, it's almost becoming a little bit ho-hum, a little bit sort of, happening so regularly. But why have Scotland had England's measure so consistently in recent years?
Yeah, I think we have to acknowledge that England haven't been as strong in the last 3 or 4 years as they were for 10, 15, 20 years before that. So I think there's that, and I think it's just there is a confidence element there. I think we used to dread playing England, and you do it once, and all of a sudden you realise it's not impossible. So there's a big confidence factor. England are a team in transition. Steve Borthwick spoke about that after the game. They didn't play well. They started really well, but they lacked a bit of cohesion and a bit of composure. When things started turning against them, and they're fairly inexperienced side. So they lost to France. They've got to play Ireland last up, and these will be much bigger challenges. And I think the Scotland head coach Gregor Townsend and Rory Dards, the co-captain, both at pains to stress that they will have to play better. Beating England is great, but it's not a great England team.
Could Scotland beat Ireland in Dublin in 3 weeks' time?
They could. I think that would be a big ask. We saw. They blew us away at the World Cup, just before Christmas. Ireland are just, there's not very many weaknesses in them. And, it's the polar opposite. You asked me why have Scotland seem to have the measure of England recently. It's a confidence thing. I think we don't feel that kind of confidence. I'd be astonished, and maybe it's a bit disloyal or unpatriotic of me to say so, but I can't see us being Ireland and Dublin, I'm afraid.
It has been a long time though since Scotland finished in the top 2, even in the Six Nations.
Yeah.
So if they were to do that, would that represent a very good Six Nations campaign for them?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that would be an excellent Six Nations, and I suppose there would be a bit of frustration again that we didn't finish the game against France. So us Scots were always kind of looking at half glass, half empty. But finishing second would be our best ever Six Nations performance since Italy joined the party in 1999 or 2000 for the 2000 tournament. So. Yeah, I think we'd definitely be celebrating that.
And we probably should just mention the coach. We seem to talk a lot about them when teams lose, maybe less so when they win. But Gregor Townsend, he'd be fairly highly regarded, I'd imagine, by Scottish rugby fans right now.
Right now he is, yeah. He's had a tough time, since coming back from the World Cup. That was his second World Cup, and we knew it was going to be tough. We had a tough draw. We kind of felt we didn't fire a bullet. So for the first time probably in Gregor's career, Scottish people were questioning him. So I think he'll be pretty pleased that he's kind of probably answered a few of those questions now. And going back to your previous question, I think he really needs to be looking to at least third, hopefully second, to really consolidate his position. Because I think his contract runs out, a year's time, a year and a half's time, and. He's been the head coach for a long time, and I think people were beginning to ask whether just a fresh face was needed.
Are there any obvious successes? I'm not saying that he'll go. I mean, this result's a very good one, but are there any obvious successes to him?
Well, one of the things that probably works in his favour is there's not any obvious Scottish successes at the moment. Franco Smith, who's a South African, obviously, is doing a great job at Glasgow Warriors, and I think people would see Franco as the obvious replacement if Gregor was to go, because he's got a kind of feel for the Scottish game, having coached Glasgow over here. So, or the, who knows? It could be someone from left field comes into it. But I think Franco would be the obvious successor at the moment.
Can I just ask you about a different issue, and that's these smart mouth guards, which are now being used not only in the Six Nations but over here in Super Rugby. There's been a bit of chat, a bit of controversy about them. What's been the overriding view of players wearing smart mouth guards in Six Nations?
Yeah, so there hasn't been as much that I don't think, although interestingly it was brought up today after the game because Xander Fagerson, Scotland's tight head prop, had to go off after 6 minutes for an HIA because mouth guard had triggered it. He was fine, and Gregor actually was Gregor Simpson was quite open, saying this, we have to be very, very careful about bringing in technology that's not properly tested, and things like that happening that could affect the game. He was at pains to stress that, we could be looking to do anything we can to make sure the game's safer, but he's questioning whether the technologies is effective, and he was quite annoyed. I think he was quite annoyed about Xander Fagerson because the same thing happened last week with George Turner. Had to go off for 10 minutes, and neither of them had suffered an HIA. So I think certainly from a Scottish point of view, I think we're watching it closely. We're not convinced that or certainly Gregor's not convinced that the technology is delivering what it should be doing at the moment.
I think there's a similar reluctance to fully accept it over here, David. Thanks indeed for taking the time. David Barnes, Scottish rugby writer, off the back of Scotland's Calcutta Cup winning 30-21 win over England at Murrayfield this morning, their fourth straight win over England.
For more from Weekend Sport with Jason Pine, listen live to News Talk ZB weekends from midday or follow the podcast on iHeartRadio.